Hello everybody, Wolfpack here, and welcome to another exciting video. This one's going to be a little bit different, and I wanted to ask the question really, since Uboat has released, what is going to happen now? Uboat just exited early access about a month ago now, and I must say, so many changes have happened to this game since it first released into early access. When it first came out a couple of years ago, I was lukewarm on the game. There was a lot of features missing. But since then, the devs have added a ton, especially within the past year. Some of these changes have been much needed, like deck gun optics, which we finally have, and some of them have really improved the sense of progression in the game, such as new U-boat types. They've added the Type 2, the Type 2A, and the Type 2D U-boat, which I've been having a ton of fun in. They've also added a proper working TDC, and two very different variants of the TDC. You have the C-37 TDC, which is used in the earlier U-boats and is much more rudimentary. And then you also have the newer, more capable S-3 TDC that is used in the Type 7C U-boats. As far as I know, this is the first submarine simulation with these two TDC types modeled and to this level of fidelity. Wolfpack, the game, does have the S3 TDC, as you do command a Type 7C U-boat, and that TDC is really well done as well, but having the earlier, more rudimentary C-37 is an awesome feature. And really, the devs didn't have to do it, but they did, and it is phenomenal. I really enjoy it. Other things that have been added in the past couple of patches are new U-boat pins, which are incredibly detailed, better ports, new mission types, and also crew interaction. So your crew will mess up and you have to make decisions as the captain, which does add some interesting RPG elements to the game. All this to say is U-boat is in a really good place right now. I've been having a lot of fun with it. So, despite all of these brand new features, there are a handful of things I would like to see added to the game, and certainly I would like you to comment below what you would like to see added to U-boat. Some of these things are pretty low on the priority list. They would be under the category of nice to have, but some of them I do think need to be added. For example, whenever you raid Scapa Flow, you are tasked with sinking the Royal Oak. Now, in reality, HMS Royal Oak was sunk by Gunther Preen in October of 1939, but Royal Oak was a Revenge-class battleship. Whenever you raid Scapa Flow in-game, the only battleship model that U-boat currently has is HMS Nelson and HMS Rodney, so the Nelson class of battleships. A kind of immersion breaking when the only battleships you see are, HMS Nelson, especially when you are tasked with sinking Royal Oak. It's just something that I always wish would have been fixed, and again, mods could fix this. More ships would be great though, because variety is good. I do think there is a happy medium to have. You don't want the ships to lose any detail, so you do want these ship models to be good, but you don't have to have too many. One example is Wolfpack, when it first came out, had a ton of ship variety. And I would argue that it was probably too much. A lot of these ship models were relatively low poly, and their differences were incredibly minor. I do think Silent Hunter 3 and Silent Hunter 4 have a good variety in ships, and it doesn't get too repetitive, especially when you add in mods like One Alex for Silent Hunter 3. There are mods that add far too many ships, and some ships just don't look to par, so there is that to keep in mind. But ship variety would be nice in U-boat. Just a handful more ships I think would really improve gameplay, especially because early on in the war you only encountered those couple of Empire type freighters and convoys, and just a couple more would be nice. One other relatively big gameplay thing that I would like to see adjusted is the play as the skipper mode. It is currently listed as an experimental feature by the developers, which, makes me have some leeway with it, but just playing in first person in this game could be so incredibly immersive. I do see the potential for first person play in U-boat, and quite frankly, it would be the only way I would play this game if it weren't for one glaring issue, and I think the devs are aware of it. The first person gameplay is clunky. It's just really cumbersome to move around. It does not flow very well. And I think that's why it's listed as experimental. I would like to see some more work put into the first-person gameplay mode, because that is just fully untapped in my opinion. Because I like walking around in first person, but when you actually start playing in first person, it can get kind of frustrating. Another great thing to add would just be a simple pair of binoculars that you can use a mouse wheel while on the bridge to bring up instead of going to the Ouzo. Also, one thing that's pretty minor, whenever you are playing as the skipper, you can access the full crew compartment by pressing the spacebar and pausing the game. So you go to the cutout view, but the game is paused. I would like to see that removed. I would like to go to the cutout view to issue orders occasionally, but I don't want the game to be paused. That kind of takes me out of things. And I like the fact that real time makes you really think on your feet and make these decisions instantly. That's just kind of the stress level I personally enjoy, although that may not be for everybody. So those are the two kind of big things I would really like to see and that I think would help improve the game overall. There are a lot of other minor things that I'd like to see added, but I think a lot of those are going to indeed be added with mods. And I do want to say that the whole ship variety situation is being fixed by mods. Modders are already going ham adding new ship models. The modder who is working on essentially the mega mod for Uboat, I'm going to call it a mega mod because it changes so much, and that mod is Uboat Expanded. That modder is currently working on adding new merchant ship models into the game, although unfortunately Uboat Expanded is going to take a while to release due to all the changes that have been added to Uboat with the full release. But I'm going to get into modding in just a little bit. Just to touch on one last quality of life feature I would like to see added to Uboat through mods or an official update would be better, is more quality map tools in the game. I think Wolfpack does this incredibly well. The map tools in that game are phenomenal. You have every tool you could need and you can customize them however you'd like, but Silent Hunter 3, again, has a bit more variety. Compass roses on all the map tools, things like that. That would really help playing Uboat, especially whenever you have map contact updates turned off. Because right now, it's kind of hard to play without map contact updates without having, you know, charts on your second monitor or something. And that's another thing that would be great, just speed conversion charts like we have in Silent Hunter. So that way you could just look, see a ship's going 6 knots and know they will move 11 kilometers over the course of an hour, and so on. Of course, this is something that could be modded in, and at this point, I should really look into modding. Modding Uboat, allegedly, is very easy, as the game is in Unity, but a modder has already added the attack disc to Uboat, so I suspect it would be totally possible to add these quality of life charts. Okay, and now to get to things that are probably going to happen, or at least I think there's like a 75% chance of us seeing some of it. I do think new U-boat types are on the horizon, not within the next year or so, but eventually, and I think these probably could be added as DLC. I personally would absolutely buy new U-boat types. Specifically, the Type 9, I think, is the one that would most logically fit up next. Type 9B, C, and C40 would also be good, and 9D2. Now, the 9D2 is an interesting one and could probably be packaged separately. I don't know how the devs are going to do it. I am no marketer for them, but the 9D2 would open a plethora of possibilities for us, allowing U-boat to expand into the Indian Ocean, being part of the Monsoon Gruppa. Now, the Type 9B and Type 9C would also allow us to participate in Operation Drumbeat and operate off the eastern seaboard of the United States a little more effectively without the need of milk cows. I do think the want by the player base is there, and I do think a Type 9 would add a lot to the gameplay loop. And I must say, I mean, the last time we had a Type 9 in a submarine sim like this is the Silent Hunter 4 U-boat missions expansion, which released in, I know Silent Hunter 4, the base game, released in 2007, so whenever U-Boat expansions came out, that's the last time we had a Type 9 in a game. And the last subsim we had all of these U-Boat types in was Silent Hunter 3. I do think it would be great to finally have a subsim that has all of these U-Boat types in one package. Now, I know a lot of folks want to see the Type 21, and yeah, the Type 21 would be cool, I must say, although it did not do anything during the war, really. It did not sink a ship in combat. So my alternate idea is to add the Type 23, baby. Now, I know what you're thinking. The Type 23, isn't that thing tiny? And yeah, it is. It has 2 torpedo tubes that are externally loaded. They cannot be loaded internally, so they have to be reloaded at port, which can be fairly interesting, I'd say. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. A lot of people don't even like the little dugout canoes, but personally, I love it. Having those restrictions placed upon you, especially later in the war. The reason I suggest a Type 23 is these boats were actually operational and managed to sink 4 Allied ships for a total of just over 7,000 tons. The Type 21, on the other hand, which everyone wants to see, did absolutely nothing during the war. Although allegedly the captain of U-2511 got into firing position against an Allied task force just after ceasefire orders were received. Regardless, new U-boat types would be great, and I'm sure we will see at least some of them in the time being. Personally, I gravitate more towards the workhorses. That's why I would like to see the Type 9s first and foremost. And possibly, along with these late war boats, we could see more Allied improvements, more Allied equipment that they use to hunt U-boats with, such as MAD or Foxer to evade those pesky T5 torpedoes, because right now they're kinda Wunderwaffe-esque. In reality, they weren't that great by comparison. Famously, U-505, the U-boat that was captured by the Americans in 1944, launched a T5 out of her stern torpedo tubes, and it missed. It did not manage to hit anything. But yeah, just more Allied equipment to make it even more challenging as a U-boat commander would be great. Last but not least, one thing I'm incredibly excited about is mods. The modding community for U-Boat is absolutely fantastic. As I mentioned, Link, who currently works on the U-Boat expanded mod, is doing some incredible work to make the world feel much more alive than it does now, along with all the people working in the U-Boat modding group, adding more realistic sights, a working RDF antenna, and all sorts of things. So yeah, all of these mods are really going to help enhance the U-Boat playing experience, and I am looking forward to more and more of them being released. Another great mod is the Sinking Physics Overhaul, which I have used in the past, and I am looking forward to using some more. I will probably do some videos showcasing some of these mods to make you all more aware of what is out there and what is available. Anyway, folks, that's really going to do it. I really just wanted to ramble about my thoughts and what I would like to see added to the game. As I said previously, I'm pretty happy with where U-Boat is right now. It's just, I can totally see this becoming an excellent submarine simulation. Something that really rivals and could possibly surpass Silent Hunter 3 in my opinion. Anyway, folks, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and comment, as it really does help out the channel. But until next time, this is Wolfpack345 signing off, and I will see you all on the next one.